This episode of Let's Talk Natural Medicine is brought to you by BioGlan MedLab, proud platinum partners of ATMS. Built on 50 plus years of healthcare experience and nutritional science, BioGlan MedLab delivers practitioner-only formulas, trusted by practitioners, loved by families. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk Natural Medicine. As you know, I'm doing the Legend series at the moment, and it's been interesting interviewing so many of our amazing legends through the Australian Traditional Medicine Society. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Alison Carroll. She is a bodyworker, psychotherapist, teacher, and healer with over 40 years of clinical experience. Alison's journey spans remedial massage, herbal medicine, psychotherapy, somatic bodywork. We're going to dive into all of these, decades of teaching thousands of students, which has helped to shape the profession that we have today. So welcome to the program, Alison.
Thank you, Annie.
When you hear 40 years of practice, what comes up for you?
Yeah, so 40 years was last September. I clocked up 40 years in practice. And I guess what strikes me is how fast it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, when I think about, preparing for this, I realise just how the landscape has changed. When I was first studying, if you wanted to find something out, you had to go to the library. So enormous changes culturally in the profession, in health and wellness generally. So it's been, looking back on it, as I said, to prepare for this, I'm amazed that I'm still here and really grateful that I'm still here, still in practice, and still enjoying practice, and hope to keep going.
Absolutely. So what does practice look like now? You're now in the Hunter Valley, north of Sydney. What does day-to-day look like for you? And then we'll tap into what it used to look like.
Okay. So I still am a clinician, certainly not at the level that I was, 30 years ago. But I do face-to-face here at the farm. I have people come in from Sydney, from the Central Coast, from Newcastle that come out for face-to-face bodywork sessions. I do counselling and psychotherapy and energy work on Zoom. So all that changed during the pandemic when, so many of us moved to working remotely. So I do that. I have a group of students, body workers, psychotherapists that have worked with me as apprentices for many years, and they gather here on country a couple of times a year. And I won't run women's retreats up here.
So you moved up to the Hunter Valley so you could live on the property and be able to provide those kind of services. If you jump back, and certainly things have changed since COVID, so we now can have telehealth and online teaching and so forth. So where did you start? Let's go back to the beginning then.
Okay, so I started with a diploma of remedial massage at Nature Care. I was taught by a lot of ATMS legends, actually. Catherine McEwen taught me to massage. Dorothy Hall taught me herbal medicine. I studied with her in the 80s. Was mentored by Alan Hudson. Alan Jones, also a mentor and an inspiration. And in the 80s, massage therapists were, fairly thin on the ground. So I did my course, which is a much shorter course than we do now for the diploma. And I started massaging in my lounge room.
Wow.
Doing warm-ups for a chiropractor a couple of days a week. She was very generous and taught me a lot. And then when the lounge room got too overrun. I, moved into a clinic, ran a clinic out at Epping for many years, had some fantastic body workers, massage therapists that worked with me there for many years. And then moved again. So basically at the table for decades. There was, I was busy, my practice was busy, the clinic was busy, and it was at that time that massage therapy was sort of really coming into the public domain. When I first started, it was all still a bit iffy. People thought that maybe you were a massage parlour worker.
Yes.
But that changed quite radically.
It's been an incredible shift, hasn't it? I mean, if I think back to my childhood, I don't remember ever thinking anyone got a massage unless I didn't even know the word, or that's right, it had a sexual connotation to it. And then over my life journey, like now it's kind of like, we'll be down at the mall on a Thursday night and my daughters would say, let's have a massage. Like, it's like, and I know that's not therapy, as therapeutic in quality, but it's kind of gone from so niche and a bit sort of out there to extremely mainstream, and now and different types of massage, and then now being used very much in that integrated healthcare sort of profession. So you must have just seen so much of a massive shift in that way.
Yeah, and massage, the diploma of remedial massage is such an amazing qualification, because practitioners can go in so many different directions, whether it's rehab or working with athletes, to, I guess, beauty therapy, and now, as you see, have seen the rise of the mall massage clinic, which is fantastic. Really well-trained therapists, easily available. So, but for me particularly, I guess what turned up in my room and what I kept seeing was when I touched people, when I changed the organisation of the body, people's psyche would change. So that was my hook, I'd massage people and they would cry, or I would massage people and they would recover a memory, so I was really interested in that phenomena, how change at the level of the body creates change at the level of the psyche. So I went on, I studied craniosacral therapy, and then I wanted to be able to process this data that came up during a treatment. And this, I realised fairly early that the body and mind is truly an integrated system. So my interest went down the path of that psyche-soma connection. So I did a psychotherapy training, and then I did my master's in analytical psychology, so Jungian psychology. And that really helped me as a body worker to both deal with psychological material as it emerged in the treatments, and Jungian psychology gave me a language and a framework for these deep psychic changes that occurred when change was facilitated at the level of the body.
Incredible. So, were you aware of this from your initial training that this is normal, this will happen, or was it your experience and you maybe your skill set that suddenly went, "Hello, this is an amazing response to my touch or the way I'm doing massage. I want to know more and I want to be able to extend my skill set in this area."
Yeah. Probably a little bit of both. In 1985, getting a diploma of remedial massage, took about 6 months. So the courses were they weren't as extensive as the training that a DRM gives you now. And certainly it was touched on. People like Catherine McEwen and all those early teachers were certainly aware of that. But there wasn't the formal training. And I think the other thing that I was reflecting on, that it wasn't until the 90s that the functional MRI machine was developed and all this brain and body-mind research really took off. So, the 90s was really a time of great flourishing for research into these areas. The power of touch to affect change at the level of the brain and the level of the psyche. So for me, no, I was just wandering around, massaging people going, oh my God, this is amazing. So, I think I knew a bit about it, but not very much. I don't do straight remedial massage now. And because I've been around for a long time, the people that come to see me come knowing that I work in that space where psyche and soma meet. So my client base don't come in with sore muscles.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really just that you've niched into that other side.
Most people come to me with a psychological or spiritual dilemma.
Right.
And for some people, depending on where the injury or the imbalance is, for some people there'll be more talk therapy within a treatment, or the first few sessions will be more dominated by talk therapy, and then as the treatment progresses, we're on the table more.
So what have you noticed have been the positive and negative changes? As you said your initial qualification was like 6 months and now, it's a year to 2 years or whatever. So, and then, but then you've also been trained by gurus in the time and you've done extra qualifications. Do you over 30, 40 years see the positives and negatives of or are there negatives? Has it just been positive that we've now got more and more professional? So this is a great thing. Or is there anything that you go, oh, this was good in the old days and we don't do it anymore?
Okay, that's a big question. I think on the whole, our body workers are really well trained, much more so. I think that VTAB accreditation really affected the way we trained therapists, body workers. And I think a lot of what we taught in the 90s is now taught at a postgrad level. But I think that the training is, really good. But I also think that a DRM gives you the privilege of getting your hands on people. And then it's the postgrad training and the postgrad experience and the specialisation that is where practitioners become broader and deeper in their skills.
Well said. Have So that's education has changed. Has regulations in this area? How have they been how have they shaped this profession?
Regulations. Well, the health funds certainly have a big say in how we train massage therapists. And I think that has positive and less than positive aspects. I think it's important for natural therapists, generally, massage therapists in particular, to get that balance between tradition and lineage and depth on one hand, and evidence-based, regulated practice on the other. I think that that's the challenge for the profession as a whole, to fit into the criteria that's necessary now for registration to keep clients safe, to keep the profession safe, to be up to date with research and evidence-based practice and trauma-informed practice and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think we should forget where we came from. So massage came from the spas, the spas of Europe, the Swedish massage and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's tricky.
It is tricky. So was there a moment, if you like, or was it just a taste that you went, technique's not enough, you want to shift more from remedial massage to somatic kind of body work and interest?
Great question. I mean, one of the things that I say to students is that we need to move from technique-based massage to palpation-based massage. I think that it's important for students to learn all the techniques, but what I've noticed is that what I do at the table has become simpler and simpler and simpler in terms of, fancy techniques, but the capacity to palpate on multiple different levels. I think very often it's the quality of our touch that has the greatest impact at the table. So I would touch somebody who is grief-stricken very differently from the quality of touch that I would convey to somebody who's stressed and rigid and very much in their head. So and this is what I love about massage so much, is that the subtlety within the practice, within the craft, is so varied. Each therapeutic relationship is completely unique, and I for one think that palpation-based massage is and quality of touch is the biggest therapeutic agent in the room.
So on one hand, you're saying it's equality of touch, so it's very physical in the way you approach the body and work with that body, but then on another side, I hear people saying you've got to listen to the body. So how do you balance all of that, and what does even listening to the body mean?
So I call it practitioner neutral.
Okay,
always start from a neutral point of view, from a neutral place within myself. No expectations. Let the body speak to me before I speak to the body. To put it in a more dense level, if I'm, rubbing somebody, and they flinch against me, that means they're defending themselves against me. So I want to go in and sort of fly under the radar so that I can feel the body doing what the body's doing when it's not with me. And then, once I've had a good listen, then I'll move towards them energetically or with a different quality of touch to start to unwind some of the defences. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but when you're working with the body mind, when people come in, there's always a dilemma in the system. Yeah? They want to relax, but not really. They want to change, but not really. They want to let go of a stuck emotion, but not really. So what I've got to do is create a quality of touch and a therapeutic relationship that's safe enough to get beyond their defences.
So is the physical body and this experience always deeply connected to the emotional and psychological experience, or can they be separated? Like often I think when I go in for a massage, I just want to go into Zen because I just want to focus on the massage. But then obviously a lot of what we're talking about is it brings up, all that emotional, psychological experience. So can it be separated? Can it never be separated?
Yeah, great question. Look, you can't sell somebody a fridge if they're there to buy a washing machine. You know what I mean? So if somebody comes in and they don't want to talk, they've been talking in the office all week. They just want to lie down and have a rub and relax. That's what you give them. But if somebody comes in and says, that something's just happened, they've just had a loss, they've just had, or they're feeling depressed, or they're suffering from anxiety, or something like that, the intention is different. The contract between the therapist and the client has to be set up. So if you come to me and you've had a busy week at work and you just want to lie down and rest, that's the contract.
Yeah. I think often we don't know what we want though. So from the consumer side, go in and you want a massage. It's almost like which type of massage, I don't know. I'm not thinking I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what the options are. So is it a specific gift, and I often get surprised that they don't ask me is anything, like it's straight into the massage. You want a remedial massage, you're getting a remedial massage or whatever. And so I think it is it must be a challenge because you must get sometimes well into the massage and then suddenly realizing, there's all this other stuff happening. I wish you'd told me, or I've only, now found out.
And often they won't know.
Yeah.
Often they won't know, and often they're really surprised because they start to feel a little upset or a little uncomfortable, or emotions are coming up during the massage. And so I just check in. If I feel somebody getting wobbly on the table, I'll say, how you doing? What's happening? And if they say, I'm feeling really upset, then we kind of renegotiate in the middle of the treatment. Okay, so would you like me to back off a little bit? Or, we can keep going and see if we can let this go a little bit. So, you're absolutely right. Somebody comes in they think for one reason, and, the unconscious has got them there for a completely different reason.
Exactly.
I think informed consent. So if somebody gets wobbly or something comes up in the middle of a first treatment, we renegotiate halfway through. And then, of course, first treatments are first treatments. So what happens in a fifth treatment or a sixth treatment or a 200th treatment is going to be very different from what happens in that first session.
So true, which is the value of actually developing that relationship with your practitioner. And I strongly encourage people to do that. When you just think, I can just go to anyone. It's like, no, they actually get to know you. They want to know your body. They want to know you personally. So valuable.
Yeah, indeed.
So let's shift over to, you taught at Nature Care College for 20 years, I believe. And so you've therefore taught theoretically thousands of students. What did teaching give to you?
I love teaching. I still love teaching. And I think I love the students. I have women that do me now, apprenticeship class. I like helping people find the inner therapist, for want of a better word, because I can see people, they're doing their techniques and etc. Then all of a sudden, boom, they're in, and then they can feel the whole system. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
I think that for me, that sense of belonging, being part of a profession, and being part of a family of practitioners is really, really important to me. I learn a lot from my students, and I really enjoyed my time at Nature Care, and it was a buzz.
And many of your students are now leaders and teaching themselves. Like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it makes me feel like a grandma. It's great. Yeah. It's great. I when I started out talking about Dorothy and, Catherine and Alan and all my teachers, and as well as my teachers from my psychotherapeutic training, who are the elders of the profession. I like that multi-generational. I like the belonging to that lineage a lot. It means, and I'm, in my late 60s now, and, I don't know how much longer I'll do this, but it feels like it's been a really valuable way to spend 40 years.
So rewarding. And now you facilitate workshops and healing circles and, camps, I suppose, experiences for mainly women. Why are these spaces for women so important?
I think because Carl Jung talks about the process of individuation, so becoming all that we can become. And this individuation process takes place over a lifespan. So we don't get to 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 and, we're finished. And there's periods in a woman's life, and that's because I work with women, and in a men's life as well, but from my perspective, in a women's life, where we go through these big changes, through young adult transition, the midlife transition, late liminal transition. We've got birthing our babies, we've got menopause, everything in between, and these times of change, these times of transition and growth need tending. They need quiet, slow spaces so that we can go within and, let go of what we need to let go of, to call in what we need to call in. And I think in a retreat situation, there's an opportunity to do that. Coming to sit on country is a powerful experience in itself. I think women are exhausted.
Yeah.
I do. I think women are exhausted, and I think that to have a regular practice of retreat, to retreat from the outside world, to retreat to the inner world, to retreat from ordinary states of consciousness to non-ordinary states of consciousness. I think it's vital. I think it's vital, and you've only got to look at how many women's circles and retreats are emerging, even in the last 5 years.
They've exploded.
Exploded. So I think that's indicative that there is a real need for it.
What do women most rediscover through that experience?
Okay. How tired they are, how angry they are, how they cope and cope and cope and cope. Many of the women that come to see me and myself, I'm holding 4 generations here. I've got an elderly mum, I've got my siblings, I've got my daughter, I've got my grandkids. So it's like everybody else's needs dominate. And sometimes it's at the retreats, women sleep. They lie on the ground, they laugh hilariously, they'll find a tree to cry and rage under, just a space to tend to themselves.
Permission just to be as you are.
To have a meal put in front of you,
That feels like luxury at many places.
Yeah, exactly.
And it shouldn't be, but it is.
To make sure that somebody will, make you a cup of tea if you need one, that you don't have to worry about your alarm clocks. If you sleep in, somebody will come and get you. I think that creating a space where women can stop worrying about all the obligations in their lives and just tend to their inner world, because there's not a whole lot of time to do that.
And what is the immeasurable value of doing this on country compared to in clinical settings?
Country cooperates. If you approach country mindfully, respectfully, prayerfully, in a relationship that's reciprocal, country comes to the party, whether it's the experience of a sunrise or a sunset, whether it's an animal ally, the act in my camps, women, we put up tents so women are sleeping on the ground. That helps. I think that for the work that we do here, it's not just an attractive setting. You know what I mean? It's more than that. It's a co-therapist in many ways. And I think that particularly women that live in the city, you can see them, exhale as soon as they get out of their car.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's right. And women, I've been running the camps here for 8-9 years now, and a lot of women come twice a year, every year, because this is their spot. This is their sit spot. They develop a relationship with this country.
And each other and you.
Yeah, it's a community.
It is a community. So when you look back now, what are you most proud of, and what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, God. I don't know. Look, I'm proud that I kept going. I think that a lot of my career has been luck. I've managed, and if I have a skill, it's like spotting these really good teachers. I've been really, really lucky to have sat at the knees of some very wise and wonderful teachers. So I'm proud that I kept going, and I'm lucky that I was lucky. And I don't know about remembering. I don't know that I what would I like to be remembered for? That I applied myself well, that I took it seriously. You know what I mean? That I did my best. And, I've done some good work. I've made, some mistakes. But in the end, I'll fade from memory, and it won't really matter in the end. I think that I'll just do my work and be grateful for the fact that I'm still able to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your journey with us today. It's been amazing, amazing career and amazing unpacking, I suppose, in a really unique way, a unique journey that you've made your own. And I know you call it luck, but it also is probably the person you were always going to be, and you've allowed yourself to really lean into that. And I think you're definitely going to be remembered as a person who just allowed space and safety and support for so many women, to actually just allow them to be who they are and to grow in a naturally healthy way. So thank you for giving that.
Thanks, Annie.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed our time today. I hope you have, listeners. Wow, it's so interesting, isn't it? Just listening to these legends. And we'll have another legend for you next episode. If you haven't already done so, we would love you to join our community called Friends of Natural Medicine. So if you're watching the video version of this podcast, I want you to click on the QR code you can see. That will take you you can join for free. And what does it do? It gives you an email every couple of weeks, so not overwhelming, but it gives you links to podcasts like this. It also gives you recipes from celebrity chefs. It gives you blogs and content, educational content from our accredited practitioners at the Australian Traditional Medicine Society, and so much more. If you're not watching and you're listening on one of our streaming platforms, jump over to atms.com.au and click on Friends. It's that easy. So I look forward to you joining our community. Tell your friends to join Friends, and till then, keep living naturally well. I look forward to seeing you next episode.